How you doing, everybody? My name's Matt Dinerman, the track announcer here at Oaklawn Park. Another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, presented by Oaklawn Park and sponsored by Oaklawn. We've got a lot of ground to cover, folks, so let's get to it. We're going to be going over a few different things. A lot happened last week, of course, Arkansas Derby Week, the Racing Festival of the South. We had 10 stakes races last week, highlighted by, of course, the Fantasy Stakes and the $1.5 million Arkansas Derby. We'll go over those races in a little while. We're also got a hidden gem for you that I think is a horse that really has a bright future. Some up-and-comers as well that we saw from last week, and then we'll go over a couple stakes this coming week at Oaklawn Park for Arkansas-bred sprinters. But we're going to start things off with a special guest. We went to the backstretch earlier today and spoke with trainer Tammy Hornsby, who was able to spring the upset with Rose Palace on Friday in race 8, the Lapatourel overnight stakes for filly and mare routers. We talked about Tammy's Rose Palace, Caliente Star, who she's going to be running this week in the Rainbow Mist Stakes for Arkansas-bred 3-year-old filly sprinters, and talked a little bit more, getting to know about Tammy and her operations. So coming up right now is our interview with trainer Tammy Hornsby. I am here on the backstretch, delighted to be with Tammy Hornsby next to the stable star of the barn, Rose Palace, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Tammy, thanks for taking time to talk to us. A lot of people have seen your name. You've been here. We were talking about it off air since the 90s. When did you go on your own, first of all, when you went and trained your own string of horses?
It was 2013 is when I got started.
So
my husband was a trainer for a while, and I was just kind of assistant there, and then I went on my own in 2013.
So that's a good segue. You've talked about your husband was training horses on his own string. Did you work with anybody else besides him learning about the business?
Yeah, when I very first started, I went to a racehorse school. I was a little farm girl and wanted to do horses, and that's how I got started and met my husband there. And then we went to work after we went there, we went to work at the fairgrounds for Jack Vanberg. And that's where I really learned the business.
And that's a good mentor to have, Jack
Yeah.
Vanberg, who passed a few years ago. How long did you work for him for?
You know, we worked, it was about a year, not a real long time, but really learned how to do things right, you know, old school, and learned a lot of horsemanship from him.
So when you talk about things you learned in the horsemanship, what kinds of things did you do around the barn, and what kind of lessons did you learn from Jack?
You know, I groomed, and then he'd let me gallop one a day. And
Very cool.
And, yeah, so he, you know, taught me how you're really supposed to do. You know, it's changed a lot, but the basics, and just really how to do things right. You know, general care.
We talked about you used to gallop your own horses. Now you're more on the ground.
Yep, now I'm more on the ground, be on the pony. This year I don't have a pony here because we're a little short on stalls, so we just, we'll have a pony this summer again, and probably back next year, but yeah, I like being out there with them.
Are there benefits as a trainer to galloping your own horses? Because there are different trainers here on our backstretch, Tammy, who do gallop their own horses, like Johnny Ortiz, for example.
You know, I think there's a big advantage. If you don't gallop your own, you really have to have a good gallop person or people you can trust, because there's a lot of things that you can feel that you can't see. And it's just even being in the ground, watching the feed tub, and you know, watching them just cool out. There's just a lot to be in. We're a very hands-on barn, and I like that.
So I would say it's very important to have the best possible help, and you're only as good as your help.
Only as good as your help. I wouldn't be here today without my help. We are really lucky and have a good crew. Rodney Trader's been with us forever, and he used to ride and ride races and gallop, and now he's assistant, saddles for me, and just everything that needs to be done. And we got some really good guys at the training center that do all our breaking, and they pony for us in the afternoon, and Hugo Torres rides a few for us and gallops, and we just got a great crew.
And you're having a great meet, and we'll talk about her in a little bit, but how many horses do you have in training currently?
We got about 30.
Okay, that's a good size.
We have a fair amount that haven't started yet that'll start this summer. And we got 15 in here at Oaklawn.
So you've got two spots to where your horses are. You got Pleasant Hills Training Center, and then of course here at Oaklawn Park.
Yes.
For the farm horses, the horses at the training center, are there benefits to being at the training center that maybe you don't see at the racetrack itself?
It's a great place to get horses started, and you can get them up quite a ways. You need to bring them into the track to finish them up, but there is a benefit to, some of your older horses relax better out there, or if you have some that are real nervous, there is, some do better at the farm. They're just very much so individuals.
Well, one individual here, Rose Palace, heck of a claim by you, Tammy, and your owner, Mr. Grimes, claimed this gal for $35,000, and 2 weeks later you wheel her back quick in the Lapatourel overnight at a price, and she wins in a great effort, first off the claim by you. A fantastic accomplishment, but what was the idea of claiming this filly? Because obviously we have a lot of horses here at Oaklawn Park, and you zeroed in on this one. What did you think that attracted you to her?
I just saw they were going back. She was getting traded back and forth, and some of the same people were going back for her. And just looked like if she likes the distance, a guy might be able to move her up. And the day we took her, we won a shake, and she just drew off. So she come back out of it good, and she was nominated for the little stakes. So we thought, well, maybe she'll like a little farther, and she did.
So when you were thinking about putting her in a spot, was the stakes a goal, or was this a surprise entry where at the last minute you said, let's take a shot?
It was a little bit of a surprise. Let's take a shot. You got to move them up after you claim them the first, 3 weeks or so. And just wasn't really seeing anything, and that popped up, and it's like, let's give it a shot.
When you look at a horse, when you hear people saying a horse is doing well, we hear that from trainers all the time, of course. What signs do they give you to indicate, okay, they're ready to race or they're doing well?
Oh, they're in the feed tub, and they're just go out to the track and enjoy themselves and come back happy. They might lay down, take a nap, and just be up to the front of the stall like she is today, happy, wanting to, just enjoying life.
So you're saying she came out of the race good, the Lapatourel. Is there a next possible spot? What are you thinking?
We're just kind of leaving it open and see what comes up. No real etched in stone spots yet.
Let her tell you when she's ready.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is you've got another stakes caliber horse in the barn running this weekend, Caliente Star. She's 2 for 2. Before she ran her first race, and she went off as a well-kept secret because she wasn't favored by any means, did you think that she had the ability that she's shown to this point?
We were sure hoping she did. Every time we worked her, she'd outwork her work partners, and just, we got Francisco Ariado over here to work her one day, seeing, and when he took the call, it's like, there we go. Because he does a really good job, and she's just done everything right. First time out, she drew the one hole, and we were like, oh no. And she just weaved through horses and got it done. And she's another one that she's in her stall squealing and eating all her oats, and just hasn't missed a step.
And when you talk about her development from before she ever ran to now, have you seen improvement? Have you seen physical growth?
She's growing. She's getting bigger, and she's just enjoying her job. I'm real excited about her this weekend. It's anything can happen in a horse race, but I'd rather have her than anything else in the race, so I'm excited.
Caliente Star, what kind of trip are you looking from her?
Hopefully we just get a clean trip and everything goes our way.
That'll be the Rainbow Mist for Arkansas-bred 3-year-old filly sprinters. Tammy, thanks for letting us come back here. You do a great job, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to interview you, because you have a hands-on operation. When you get a good horse, they typically fire, so congratulations on your success, and we'll be cheering for you, hoping you can get another stakes win this Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Great talking to Tammy and getting to know a little bit more about her and her operation. She does a really good job, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview her, because she's a hands-on horsewoman, is there every day. When we got back there, she was feeding the horses herself. She's got a good string there, and she's starting to get pretty good stock in the barn. So well done to Tammy Hornsby with Rose Palace, and maybe can continue those winning ways in the stakes races with Caliente Star. this weekend. We'll talk about the Rainbow Miss and also the Rainbow Stakes at the end of the program, but we've got a lot of ground to cover for the Arkansas Derby this past week with all sorts of happenings going on right here in Hot Springs at Oaklawn. So let's get to it. 10 stakes races last week. We're not going to go over every single one, but we'll go over the main ones. And the main race on Friday afternoon was the Temperance Hill Stakes, going 1.5 miles on the dirt for marathoners, as we like to call them. And Lambeth coming off a nice allowance win here for trainer Joe Sharp in February, comes back here and wins the Temperance Hill in against Stakes Company. Here comes the replay with this horse here. This horse, Lambeth, of course, very impressive here. Went gate to wire, got a 100 buyer for this effort. He is one that I would imagine with such a good run in mind, that's a career best buyer by far. I'd imagine he is going to be seen in some of the bigger dirt marathon races that we have throughout the country. He'll have to go up against Next, the gray horse trained by Bill Cowens in Kentucky, who was sensational in marathon races. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Classic, did not run well. He's freshened up. He's going to be coming back in these marathon races this year. So Lambeth is going to have to face an awfully nice horse in Next, but Lambeth, one that I think is going to be seen in major races going very long distances on the dirt this year. We go to race number 6 on Saturday afternoon. The Temperance Hill was on Friday, Arkansas Derby Eve. We get to Arkansas Derby Day with 6 stakes races on the program. And we saw the first of 6 stakes as race number 6, the $250,000 Matron Stakes, our top filly and mare sprint race. 6 runners went the distance of 6 furlongs, and it was the Arkansas bred Haul and Ice for trainer Saffie Joseph Jr., who won this race, went right to the lead, never stopped, got a 101 buyer speed figure over a track that was listed as muddy. With this win, Haul and Ice became the all-time Arkansas bred leading earner, filly and mare. So not necessarily in the male division, but as a filly and mare, she has earned more money than any Arkansas bred filly and mare we've seen ever here in the state of Arkansas. Haul and Ice, when I watched that race in the binoculars, I said it in the race call. She didn't look like she was going very fast, but she did. She was going fast. 21 and change that first quarter, 21 and 4 to be exact. So that tells you when you can watch a horse on track and they don't look like they're going very fast, but they are, that says that you've got a very nice quality runner on your hands. Haul and Ice was very impressive in victory, and if she can run back to that type of speed, then even against open company, just like in the Matron at other racetracks, she should be just fine. She's going better than ever for the Saffie Joseph Jr. barn. Even though she got things her own way on the lead, she went fast and won with more in reserve. We go to the Grade 3 Oaklawn Mile, the first of 3 graded stakes races on the card, $500,000 the purse, and we saw a great showdown between Banishing and Saudi Crown. As you take a look at this replay, Saudi Crown, the gray horse, on the inside, Banishing on the outside with Flavian Pratt, who ended up getting the win here. Got a 102 buyer speed figure, did Banishing, running and out-finishing Saudi Crown. That's the same number he got when he was second in the Razorback, beating a nose to Alexander Helios. Per Robert Yates of the Oaklawn publicity department, we're going to see Banishing race next in the $1 million Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes, going 7 furlongs on Kentucky Derby Day. And we saw Gun Pilot, a horse that ran here last year. He won the Grade 1 Churchill Downs last year for Christian Torres and Steve Asmussen. So Banishing going that route. He's a horse that ever since he's gotten here to Oaklawn, he's been going better than ever. But his form is at an all-time top for trainer David Jacobson. And I suppose we're going to see exactly how good this horse is at Churchill Downs that afternoon on Derby weekend, whether maybe he just loves Oaklawn Park or maybe his form is just that good and he can transfer it to any racetrack. So Banishing is as hot of a horse as any horse in the country right now in terms of quality and also in terms of good form. Our next race we're going to go over here, the Grade 2 Fantasy, $750,000. The purse, of course, there. 100 Kentucky Oaks points awarded to the winner. And as you take a look at this replay here, what a stretch battle between 2 very nice fillies, Quiet Side and Simply Joking. We saw Quiet Side, who won the Honeybee here, last time we saw a Kentucky Oaks points race here at Oaklawn, and she outfinished Simply Joking from the Whit Beckman barn for the win. She showed guts, determination. That's what you want to see heading into the Kentucky Oaks, and she's peaking at the right time for Johnny Ortiz, who's done a really good job with obviously a very high-quality filly here, and we saw Quiet Side get the job done, got a career-high 91 by her speed figure. I was very impressed with Simply Joking, though. I thought this race was fantastic from her. She started her career sprinting in a stake race, and she won that race pretty handsomely, going 6 furlongs. Came back in the Fasig-Tipton Silver Bullet Day Stakes, going 2 turns and won. That was in February. Took some time off. She had an illness where they had to stop with her for a little bit. The fact that she ran this well against Quiet Side, who had the recency, the seasoning, I thought Simply Joking was as impressive as the winner, and I think both fillies are going to be very live come the first Friday in May when we watch the Kentucky Oaks. And remember, we saw the Kentucky Oaks winner last year race here in the Fantasy and win it, Torpedo Anna, who of course we're going to see in the Apple Blossom in a couple weeks. So a great running of the Fantasy this weekend. I would say both fillies from that race heading into the Kentucky Oaks are very, very live. The big one, the $1.5 million Arkansas Derby, same situation there, 100 Kentucky Derby points awarded to the winner and an additional 100 points handed out to the 2nd through 5th place finishers. Let's take a look. We're going to watch this whole race here. There's a lot to uncover here, so let's take a look at this. We're going to see the start of the race here. Publisher was off just a little bit slowly. Everybody else broke okay. Now you see Cornucopian. He's outside of horses right now. He has a nose in front of Cold Battle and the yellow between horses, who's very keen. He's on a strong hold, and Speed King, the Southwest winner, the only time he's run well is on the lead. So he's going to go out there and challenge Cornucopian, and these two are going to speed off here. Cornucopian had a better break than Speed King. He had a right to take the initiative, but it wasn't a surprise that Speed King was trying to go to the lead, and here's where things get really ridiculous. 22-2 that first quarter mile, and this is setting up perfect for Cold Battle and Sandman, who are just right off the pace setters here. You're going to see Cold Battle's in 3rd, Sandman about 4 lengths off of him, the gray horse, and this is just ridiculous fraction set by Cornucopian. I don't know if John Velasquez maybe underestimated Speed King's early speed. I'm not sure if he was directed to do this by the connections, but at this point, going 45-1, an unattainable pace. So you're going to see here in a little bit, both of these horses, not a surprise, come back to the group. Now you're going to see Cold Battle, maybe a little bit of an early move here. He starts to get after the leaders, and Sandman, the gray horse, is following him. And following Sandman's move is Publisher in the white jacket. He's a maiden. He ran in this race and hasn't won a race yet. Now the early pace, obviously the top two are getting tired after that, and the closers are coming from behind. Cold Battle gets the jump on Sandman, and they're hooking up here, turning for home, and turning into the stretch. Sandman's going to get a cue to go, and he's going to run by Cold Battle, who starts to struggle a little bit here, and Publisher from far out of it continues that run. Sandman, he drifted out there. He got hit on the left flank by Jose Ortiz, and he drifted out, so he's still green. He's shown that greenness in past races. Publisher running into 2nd, but that's the best he's going to do while running pretty professionally. Sandman getting the job done over Publisher, and Cold Battle, who checks in 3rd. Sandman, he's going to have to learn to be a little more professional, but he got the perfect trip there. He's going to get a fast pace in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to love 1.25 miles. So with those two factors in mind alone, he's a major player in Kentucky on the first Saturday in May. Publisher, the maiden, he'll probably be running in the Derby, still has yet to enter the winner's circle. He himself got a perfect trip as well in the Arkansas Derby, and it was a good effort from him, all things considered. But he will need to improve. Obviously, he's a very beatable horse, at least on the win end. Cold Battle, Lonnie Briley after the race noting that maybe this horse got a little bit keen and he had him a little bit too fresh, and that Lonnie Briley saying that he has a plan to maybe get this horse to relax a little bit earlier in the race come Kentucky Derby time. Going an extra 1/8 of a mile, I don't know if that's necessarily going to benefit him. He might be better going mile and a 1/16, maybe mile and an 1/8. That's sort of my gut feeling. But he's one that always shows up. He's not flashy. Even though he didn't win this race, he showed up again. Really cool racehorse, really cool story. I think Cornucopian, who ran 4th in this race after setting ridiculous fractions, He ran as good as anybody in this race, and I would imagine Cornucopian is a star of the future. Raw ability is there, going from 6 furlongs to 1.125 miles. It was going to be a difficult task as it was. If he had gone 47 in that race, who knows? Maybe he wins. He's undefeated 2 for 2 and goes into the Kentucky Derby as a legit one of the favorites in the race. But I think you excuse him for this race. He went way too fast. Really suicidal fractions, for lack of a better term. But I thought he ran very, very well, all things considered. So I think all 4 horses, top 4 finishers, you could all make cases. They all have a lot of quality. Sandman gets the win in the 2025 Arkansas Derby. Still very green, still learning, can run all day. There's still even more upside, I think, from Sandman. Let's talk about now our up-and-comers this week. That's right, we've got a few of them. Let's get down to business here. Clever Again winning the Hot Springs Stakes, a $200,000 race on Sunday, one of 2 co-features on the card, and we'll talk about the other stake in a little bit, the Southern Hospitality. Let's take a look at Clever Again's replay here. Sandman got a 99 buyer in the Arkansas Derby. Clever Again got a 101 buyer for this 4-length win in the Hot Springs, going a mile for 3-year-olds by American Pharoah out of a Galileo mare named Flattering. And she herself, Flattering, was Group 3 placed on turf at 1.5 miles in Europe. So this horse has turf pedigree. He has distance pedigree. I'm going to take a hot take here. I'm going to make one and say that Clever Again might have been the best 3-year-old we saw all Arkansas Derby week. I mean, Clever Again, he went to the lead. He set fast fractions. He got a clear lead, but he was very push button. And he won for fun with a lot more in the tank. He is a serious racehorse for trainer Steve Asmussen and owners Winchell Thoroughbreds. Clever Again, you want to watch out for him. He is a star of the future. His 2-back race coming off a layoff, this horse off a lengthy break, just running 4.5 furlongs one time in a baby race in April at Keeneland. When he ran here on Rebel Day, off that break, going 1 1/16 miles with Fast Works, you figured on Rebel Day, Steve sending live horses here, showed up with a nice maiden win, comes back and runs even better this time against Gaming, who went off as the co-favorite along with Clever Again. Both were even money, and Gaming had no shot against Clever Again. So Clever Again, I think, is a very exciting prospect in the 3-year-old division. Doesn't have points to run in the Kentucky Derby. I'm thinking possibly the Preakness, and I would think if he runs in the Preakness, he has a great shot to win the Preakness this year. He is a serious Grade 1 talent. A runner from the Asmussen barn that also makes the up-and-comers list, and Miss Martini, for Keith Asmussen, he was aboard for his dad, Steve, here. 77 buyer for this win in the Southern Hospitality for 3-year-old filly sprinters. The daughter of Curlin here out of the Grade 2 placed router, Sweet Diane. So there's route pedigree here. Earned a 77 buyer for this victory. And she got a 77 buyer last time out where she ran behind GW's Girl, who we're going to see in the Beaumont Stakes, a graded stake at Keeneland later on in April. So Miss Martini has won 2 wins, 2 seconds from 4 starts. She's never run a bad race, has yet to rout. She's a smaller frame filly. It'll be interesting what Steve does with her because clearly she has the pedigree to go a route of ground. But she also looks like one at this point that maybe she may have distance limitations based on how she strides. She looks more like a sprinter at this point in her career, but surely, I'm sure at some point they'll try to get her to go the route of ground. Mandela, she's another very much up-and-coming runner that I think has a lot of ability for trainer Chris Hartman. She won a maiden special weight on Sunday afternoon. That'll be race number 8. And Mandela, let's take a look at this. 82 buyer she earned for this 6 3/4 length win. A $150,000 sale purchase as a 2-year-old by Mendelssohn out of the stakes winning router Genda's Agenda. So she's one that has plenty of route pedigree on both sides of the breeding here. What I really liked about this effort was that she showed a kick. You see it in upper stretch with a big time burst, and she's got a nice kick here. Mandela on the wrong lead down the lane, so that's something worth noting. She wasn't on the correct lead heading to the wire here, and she switched very, very late approaching the wire. So there's some greenness here, some things they still have to work out. This was just her second lifetime start. Her first start, she ran second, made a big run down on the inside of horses in a large field and was second best, but put it all together in lifetime start number 2. I think Mandela is one we'll see in a stakes race in the very near future. We rewind to Saturday. One more up-and-comer. His name is Zero Sugar for State and Flurry Racing Stables, and Sippy Contreras here. Just like Cornucopian, other than the fact that he's a maiden, going from 6 furlongs to 1.125 miles. That's not an easy ask, but this horse got it done. He got a 77 buyer for a neck win going this 1.125 miles distance. He's a $180,000 yearling purchase by Twirling Candy. Even though first time out he sprinted and finished second behind Cornucopian, believe it or not, who won by open lengths, I thought Zero Sugar was very impressive here. He got a 77 buyer, had an 89 buyer first time out. So in terms of speed figure, he regressed, but I don't think that's a cause for concern because he was going from 6 furlongs to 1.125 miles, and he did it well. So Zero Sugar, off the fact he was trying something new, significantly new, and the fact he was still able to get it done, 2 very good efforts to kick off his career. Wouldn't surprise me if we see him in the Bathhouse Row at the end of the meet. Maybe we see him in the Indiana Derby down the road in the summertime where Sippy Contreras is based at Indiana Grand Horseshoe, Indianapolis. So those are our 4 up-and-comers this week. We've got one more horse that could be considered an up-and-comer, but we're going to call him a hidden gem, and his name is Super Cruise, a $575,000 yearling purchase trained by Ray Ashford. Jaime Torres, who was based at the fairgrounds this winter, now in Kentucky for Keeneland, he had the ride here on this Friday afternoon. This past Friday, Super Cruise ran in 1.16 miles, 3-year-old and up maiden race. Let's take a look at the start here at the half-mile pole, and we're going to go all the way to the finish. Super Cruise is number 1 in this race. You see he makes a big move on the far turn here, and it was an eye-catching move. And clearly, when you have a horse like this that was galloping early, first time out, first time going 2 turns, and he makes a giant move like this and then continues that move to the wire, it's obviously a horse you want to take a look at. And Super Cruise, if you see here late in the game down the stretch, you're going to see him get a little bit tired after making that premature move. He's actually going to brush the rail a couple times. So this horse was sort of lugging in, a little bit tired. Sometimes that happens. Horses drift out or in when they get tired. Hit the rail a couple times, just sort of skimmed it and lost some momentum and didn't lose by much. He is actually out of a half sibling to a Grade 1 winner, the La Brea winner and Sam's sister. She also won the Grade 2 Santa Monica, both races at 7 furlongs. So this runner here, there's sprint pedigree and route pedigree, but Ray Ashford obviously believing that this horse wants to go 2 turns as he started him out right away in a 2-turn race. I would think he won't be a maiden much longer if he gets a good trip. Like I said, not the most desirable trip, given I think he just moved too early and got tired because of it, but this was a very good effort from him. Money Game, the winner, a first-time starter by Candy Ride from the Brad Cox barn. Also one that you at least want to keep an eye on, but I thought Super Cruise was the horse that really caught my eye. I thought Money Game got a perfect setup off what ended up being a very contentious pace, and he sort of grinded along. Super Cruise one, though, that I think out of this race, he's the horse I'm going to pay attention to down the road. Let's get a look at the 2 stakes this week here at Oaklawn Park on Saturday afternoon. We've got a fun edition of the Rainbow Miss Stakes for Arkansas bred 3-year-old filly sprinters going 6 furlongs. Here's the field. We're going to take a look. Of course, we talked about Caliente Star getting the job done. She's 8-5 on the morning line, has won 2 of 2 lifetime starts for trainer Tammy Hornsby. We talked to Tammy, of course, earlier in the show about Caliente Star, who's very talented. The 9-5 second choice on the morning line is a Gulfstream winner, Strong Like Sarah from Florida, who won on synthetic in a sprint allowance restricted to 3-year-old filly. She's getting back to the dirt. She broke her maiden on the dirt for John Service, who's stabled in Florida and Pennsylvania. These 2 runners getting the most support on the morning line, but I also think she's a dreamer at 3-1 on the morning line with Eric Asmussen for trainer Terry Eoff. We talked to Eric on a past show about this filly. She is 2 for 2, just like Caliente Star. Broke her maiden second time out, but first start at the meet here at Oaklawn, then came back against allowance foes, older runners, and won that race very nicely. So she's a dreamer, Caliente Star, with the same type of pattern there. And that is your field in the main contenders for the Rainbow Miss. On Sunday afternoon, the $150,000 Rainbow Stakes for Arkansas bred 3-year-old sprinters going 6 furlongs. All of these runners are 3-year-old colts or geldings or ridgelings in this race. I think this is a much more wide-open race. War Mule number 9 broke his maiden on debut and was 3rd best in an older allowance race for state breds. He's going to be one of the favorites, I would think, in this race. Rock Solo cuts back in distance after a decisive starter allowance win going 2 turns. I think he wants a little more ground. I think 6 furlongs might be a little bit short, but he certainly has ability, and he ran and won against Open Company last time out. Hicko is a first-time starter from the same barn, the Ron Moquette stable by Lord Nelson, that has reportedly been working like a horse with a lot of talent. Obviously, they must think he's talented, entering him in a stake first time out. Finally getting by. AP Ruling, numbers 3 and 7, both maiden winners in the field, broke their maidens, looking to either get some black type here with a placing or a win in the $150,000 Rainbow Stakes. That's on Sunday afternoon. Keep in mind, folks, make sure to tune into our social media pages, X, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok, because we do have some interesting weather coming on, for lack of a better term. Here we're expecting a lot of rain this week. So for race card updates, track conditions, and status of racing, make sure that you keep an eye on that, because we are expecting a lot of rain starting Thursday all the way into Saturday evening. That's another edition of Out of the Starting Gate with Matt Dinerman, wrapping it up with you folks. We'll be back next week for another edition. Again, thanks to our special guest, Tammy Hornsby, for taking the time to join us. Hope you had fun last week on Arkansas Derby Week, and this week, 3 racing days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, first post each day, 12:30. We'll see you next week, but for now, good luck at Oaklawn Park watching and wagering this week. Make some